The Remora of Remora, commonly known as the common remora, gained its name from ancient mythology due to the belief that this small fish can hinder or even stop a ship. The Romans named the fish Remora, in translation meaning delay. The common remora is frequently seen attached to larger hosts using a modified dorsal fin on the top of the fish's head. This unique-looking fish uses an adhesion disc to stay with the host and survives by consuming parasites and leftover foods grabbed from the host fish. The common remora relies heavily on their symbiotic relationship with their host. The relationship between the common remora and its host is an interesting example of evolution in symbiotic relationship. One other well-known example of the evolution of symbiosis is the clownfish's protective mucus and the anemone it lives in. The relationship between the common remora and its host not only benefits the remora, but is necessary for its survival. The common remora can be found in warm waters of the Mediterranean, Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, and the Caribbean. The flattened head attributed by the adhesion disc is a distinctive to the Echinidae family and is the only type of fish who has this adhesive type pad on top of its head. On average, the common remora reaches a length of 50 centimeters with a black or dark brown color throughout its body. Their diet is most resourceful among the Echinidae family, consisting of feces, food scraps, parasites, plankton, and mucus from the host. The mucus layered on the host has been shown to contain organic materials collected from open waters that the remora feed from. This adaptable species of remora may seem resilient, but without the cooperation from a host, it is difficult for the common remora to survive on its own. In contrast to most other fish species, the common remora lacks a swim bladder, which is used to control buoyancy in the water. Having a host facilitates transport of the common remora, and the adhesion disc allows the fish to stay with the host without actually swimming, as a remora would not be able to keep up. This mode of transport, by attaching itself to the host, gives an opportunity to the common remora to ram feed. The common remora's ability to ram feed suggests a strong evolutionary dependency to the host to feed on plankton. Without a host to provide passive movement for the common remora, ram feeding would not be an option due to energy consumption and low food in return. With no swim bladder, a small mouth, and slow speed, the evolutionary trait to ram feed would be non-existent without a larger host. Not only does the adhesion disc provide transportation, but the common remora has the ability to ventilate their gills passively when attached to a moving host. Not only does the adhesion disc provide transportation, but the common remora has the ability to ventilate their gills passively when attached to a moving host. They shift to ram gill ventilation as water velocity exceeds a certain threshold. Similar to cartilaginous fish such as sharks and rays, the common remora can use the technique of ram ventilation to achieve superior respiration compared to branchial pumping. In Figure 4, passive ventilation can be clearly be noticed by the opening of the mouth to allow flow through the gills. Oxygen consumption increased between 3 to 7 and 5 to 7% when a fish shifted from ram gill ventilation to active branchial pumping. Remoras may be unique in their ability to ventilate the gills in both fully active and fully passive manner. The benefits of a common remora in their symbiotic relationship far exceeds the benefits of the host in a mutualistic situation. The evolution of the common remora and its traits to thrive is highly dependent on the host's overall abilities. For a species to sustain its population and thrive, it must be able to compete with other species for resources. For some species, a symbiotic relationship is key for the population to thrive and reproduce, whether it be through mutualism, commensalism, or parasitism. In the case of the common remora, it can be argued that the species interaction between them and the host can be all three relationships. The symbiotic relationship between the common remora and its larger host is debated by researchers. Large pelagic fish such as sharks, whale sharks, and rays can be seen with remoras covering their body. Although the relationship may seem commensalistic, as if the common remora is doing no harm to the host, a large number of remora attached to the host can hinder or burden their movement, causing stress. In some cases, this suctioning of the remora can cause damage to the skin of the host. Instances where sharks try to avoid and remove common remora have been recorded. The adhesion disc used to attach to the host consists of multiple lamina throughout the disc that support suction to the host. Michael Becker describes the remora's adhesion disc in further detail as a smooth, tooth-like projections of mineralized tissue from the dorsal pad lamina, known as spinules, are thought to increase the remora's resistance to slippage and thereby enhance friction to maintain attachment to the moving host. The common remora spinules, in addition to the suction-like pad located on the adhesion disc, are what withstands the immense water resistance and drag. It is thought that with prolonged repeated adhesion to a host, the spinules can cause damage and stress. Some researchers may argue that the damage to the skin host is rarely the case and the host is actually unaffected by the common remora, in this case being a commensalistic relationship. In a scenario in which a mutualistic relationship occurs, the remora would significantly benefit from compared to the host. With all the benefits the common remora receives in this relationship, the host would only in return have removal of parasites such as isopods, thus a mutualistic relationship. Pilotfish, which also stay with the larger host, typically being shark, may also remove parasites, but unlike the common remora, the pilotfish do not have the capability to attach itself to the host. The hosts usually are more fond of pilotfish because they do not cause any burden to them. As for economic value for humans, it is historically a valuable fish for catching other fish. Aborigines from the West Indies named this fish a hunting fish. The Aborigines would use the common remora by tying a line to their tails and then releasing them to swim off and attach itself to a large fish or turtle, which then can be carefully pulled up to the fish run. The common remora's adaptations to their marine environment shows their remarkable abilities as a fish, and their evolutionary abilities have fascinated observers since ancient times. The common remora's symbiotic relationship to the host is a unique occurrence that can give insights to the complexity of many symbiotic relationships in the oceans.